It's the 120 podcast. Mikey Finale alongside Benjamin Hootie coming at you for a new episode as we sit in our specific apartments, our respective pads on a Monday morning. And the skies are not very bleak. They're blue, but last week, Ben, I always said I was grateful that we were talking about meaningful baseball this late in the season in our first year of the podcast. But with that comes disappointment. And things are not fully off the tracks yet, but there is a reason to panic after a sweep in Arizona.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy how much has flipped since the last time we recorded.
A week ago.
We recorded after a Cubs win on Monday night when they beat Colorado. And I wouldn't say we were necessarily super high beat positive, but we said the team just had to play even just average baseball to continue on this eventual road to the playoffs that, a week ago, looking back on it, a 4-game lead on Monday didn't feel like it could slip away, but sure enough, here we are Monday morning, just a week later, and we're looking up in the standings now. And yeah, it's just been a really abysmal week watching this team, going to those 2 Colorado games, which is just, if you are seriously taking yourself as a serious playoff contender, you have to take care of business and at least win 2 out of 3. And that's being cautious, because in all reality, you should sweep a team as bad as the Rockies are. And then you go Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
When you're looking at a team that is supposedly good enough to make the playoffs, that was my motto all weekend. In these Diamondback games, when you're playing from behind, I would say stuff like a winning team makes it work here. A winning team makes it work here. And then you're looking at a situation where legitimately the sweep passed the torch. Like our second spot in the NL wildcard. A week ago, we were discussing if we could pass the Phillies. Now we are barely holding on to the third spot. If it started today, we're not in the playoffs because Philly has 81 wins. Arizona now passes up at 79-72. The Cubs and Marlins are both at 78 and 72, but the Marlins hold that tiebreaker. And then, there's Cincinnati, who's right there too at 78. So it's
who also holds the tiebreaker over us.
So we, like you pointed out, Ben, before we started recording, I'll let you kind of dive into this, but we have to not only start winning, we have to be winning more than all of those teams. Because if we're winning all at the same level as we have been for the last month, we're out.
Yeah, it's sad, and it really just comes into this upcoming homestand. But it's even more than that, because now that you've officially lost this series to Arizona, you got swept. If they would have even won one game, I would have been talking a little bit differently, because they still held that what would have been a 1.5 game lead if they would have won yesterday. That's a little more to gripe onto than looking up and having these tiebreakers and all that. It's frustrating, because you have to play better the rest of the way than Miami, Cincinnati, Arizona, and those 3 teams. You have to play better than all 3 of those teams, or else you're just not getting in. If we end the season with the same record as the Marlins, which is very possible, because that's how it's really been for the last month and a half. We're all playing at the same rate. I talked about it last week. We've all been playing at the same rate for the last month and a half. But the nice thing about it is that we had a 4-game cushion. You just wasted that away. It's gone. So now you have to play better than these teams again, like you did at the beginning of August for that week. You have to play better than all these teams, or else all your playoff aspirations and hopes are gone. And that's simply why it's important. And looking at it now, these 3 teams, they all hold a tiebreaker over us. They rightfully deserve. If we end the season with the same records as them, they honestly rightfully deserve to just take it, because we got pretty much walked by all these teams all season long, and they're playoff teams, and we just won't be.
Plus, it's looking more and more inevitable that if they squish in here, the Cubs into that 6th spot of the National League postseason, it will be that, for better or worse, 6-game stretch into Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Meaning the last 3 games of the season, and then, not checking out of your hotel and staying there for the next potentially 3 days for the NL wildcard series against the Milwaukee Brewers. So in my mind, that doesn't even feel like the playoffs, because you're not really even moving forward. But hey, I mean, who knows? Who knows what can happen? 6 games at home this week, but we'll get into that. But
there's not there's not even a reason to focus on the NL Central anymore.
No, it's over.
The Brewer,
Congratulations, Milwaukee.
yeah, I think their magic number's down to 5 now after Cincinnati and Chicago lost last night. So, and they lost as well, so it might be 6, but yeah,
Of course they lost, right? They finally lost. If we would have just gotten a game out of the Diamondbacks. Oh God. Congrats. Go get your Subway sandwich if you're in Milwaukee. You won the division, it seems. Okay. Here's the thing. And Pat Hughes said this on the radio last night. I didn't listen to the radio. I watched on TV, and then I heard about this afterwards on Twitter. It might sound like Ben and I are really down in the dumps because we are on this a little bit, but this could all change because as it stands, the Cubs are in a position to make the playoffs. They control their own destiny. Well, I mean, not if it ended today, but they don't have any tiebreakers, but they have the ability in their last 12 games here to write their own destiny. Starting with 6 games at home against 2 teams that are playing for absolutely nothing at all. And if they don't win at least 5 out of those 6 games, the Cubs will be playing for nothing 2 weeks from now.
You took the words right out of my mouth. You have to win 5 of 6, or else the season's it's gone. It's a lost case. You have to win 5 of 6. Try and even get a game back up on Arizona or something. I know all their schedules are pretty easy coming up here, and I think you're already typing to go look at Miami and Arizona and Cincinnati's schedule coming up.
Yeah.
Everyone's got kind of the same schedule where it's 2 bad teams and 2 teams where their postseason chances are already kind of like they've already clinched their spot. I think.
Yeah.
I think
No, I mean, Diamondbacks have a little bit of a tougher team schedule because, I mean, you're looking at San Francisco, who still thinks they're involved, but like hopefully they're mostly out of it. 2 games behind that whole pack of teams. Although if they beat that's like 2 full, because if they sweep the Diamondbacks or something, then all of a sudden the Giants are in on the mix, but the Diamondbacks are out.
But we need the Giants kind of to keep winning because I don't know who else they play coming up. I know it's Arizona for sure, but that's the only team in this race that we hold the tiebreaker.
We have
over.
a tiebreaker, yeah, because of the sweep we had 2 weeks ago.
Exactly.
And then the Diamondbacks face the Yankees, who are still somehow in it in the AL. They have to go on a historic streak here in the last 12 games, but they're, at least for the time being, later this week, they'll still believe they're in it. And then they have to play our friends out south, who are quite possibly the worst White Sox team I've seen in a number of years. So there's the White Sox are easy, but hopefully in the same time the Cubs play the Pirates and the Rockies, the Diamondbacks can stumble through the Giants and Yankees. But I mean, it's not like the Cubs went particularly good. It's not like against teams that we should beat, right? Like remember that stretch where you're like, oh, this is the easy AL road trip. Like we're gonna get 10 wins out of this. No, we got what, like 6 against the Tigers and the Morel walk-off, and
I think we ended up going 8-4 over that stretch.
Yeah,
but
it was like
that's not gonna do enough. Like
no,
that's why this week is so crucial, because realistically, if every team plays the same as us, you're really expecting us to like go on a tear against two of the best teams in the National League that are leagues better than us, I would say at this point, right?
Look at that last series in Milwaukee right now. Like at this rate, because of what just happened to the Cubs, Milwaukee will probably have the division before. Well, I hope not, because if the Cubs go win 5 out of 6 here, it'll be close enough to Milwaukee where they can't officially clinch. That said, if the Milwaukee Brewers have the division by that series and the Cubs go in there still expecting to make that 3rd playoffs or 6th playoff spot, my only thought process is maybe Milwaukee will phone it in. But even then, it doesn't matter because you're going to have to stay there and play them again.
Yeah. Well, the only positive thing is that we'll be looking at a situation where Milwaukee is more than likely setting up their rotation for the playoffs. So
Yes.
you won't run into the Burns, the Woodruffs, and the Peraltas
until we play them.
Until you play them, obviously.
Week,
but
yeah.
but it at least helps you get that playoff spot, which I mean, I think that was the ultimate goal that we said probably in mid-July. We were like, yeah, let's make the playoffs. Like that's the goal now. And I don't want to discredit anything that this Cubs team has done, because from where we were at talking about this team in June, and I know you started off the podcast by saying it, like we asked for competitive baseball, and this is just part of how these things go. It's just kind of frustrating that they put us on that ride from July to, beginning of September, of being a really good fundamental baseball team that played defense well. They pitched good. And I'm not even saying all that has necessarily gone away, but it's just frustrating that I have to live through yet another Cubs collapse in September, and it's the same story yet again. And somehow it's a different team. It's the same story that we've seen time and time again with this team in Septembers, whether it's 2018, whether it's 2019, 2020. We've done this. This is the fourth time in our lifetime where we've seen the Cubs just collapse in September.
Two biggest issues right now. The horse that got us to this point in this race has been the Cubs defense has been absolutely impeccable. And right now, Dansby Swanson is in this insane funk. I don't understand why. He was finally starting to hit a little bit better at the plate. He's getting a couple hits here and there, but defensively, he's reached a point where we've never seen in his career where he's looking so poor defensively. And then, as we were texting last night, Madrigal going down in the extra innings game lists that we only could play Wisdom and Mastroboni at third for now, unless Madrigal's fine starting tomorrow after the off day. I really hope so, because Jamer's still out. We cannot let Patrick Wisdom be such a liability in this lineup day in and day out. It's gotten so bad. I like Patrick Wisdom. I do. He's like the designated survivor of a team that was blown up and recreated. I like Patrick Wisdom. I'm shocked he's still on the team, but like, he's a liability. He is. What does Dom always say? The 40 home run, 200 strikeout season is inevitable.
Yeah. I called this months ago. I said this months ago that he had no right being on this team. And now, of course, it's kind of coming to bite us in the ass.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that Madrigal and Jamie are both dealing with injuries right now, that he has to be a guy that you lean on in this lineup in the middle of a playoff race.
I really, really, really hope one of the two can come back for this homestand. That would be insane. That would be huge. That's like, I get immediately more confident if Jamer or Madrigal can come back for this homestand, because I was going to say we can't let Wisdom have 4 at-bats a day. That's right. That's all I had to say.
They've been surprising us with some of the roster moves though. So honestly, unless it's like really, really bad, I think there could be a chance that I would say Jamier and Adbert are both back tomorrow, because they realize what's officially at stake. Like, I think they will put their bodies on the line to try and help the Cubs do whatever they can to win this playoffs. I would hope so, at least, because I know it was just kind of little stuff to begin with. So unless it's truly lingering stuff that can lead to worse injuries, then fine. Like, I don't want to get them hurt any more than they are. I know Jamier's an upcoming free agent. Adbert's obviously the closer of the future, but I don't know, man. It's just
call up Matt Shaw.
Yeah, why not? Like,
well, he just made it to Double-A. I don't think they'd do it, but I would be a great addition. It'd be somebody to play third, even though he's a shortstop. But I think he'd still stand a better chance than Patrick Wisdom
or Miles Mastroboni.
Yeah, who's bald now, by the way.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw that. That's a mid-season crisis, end season crisis. He's just completely bald now.
Yeah,
bald head.
It was probably in those couple of road trips to Iowa.
He got so used to taking the Greyhound from Iowa to Chicago that he would just meet people, read magazines, casually shave his head like on the Greyhound. So man, I'm glad we can still laugh about this, because that was a weird weekend for the Cubs. The extra innings game is what frustrates me still. We probably should have won that game. Cody had a home run that got called back that was foul, don't get me wrong, but had every chance in extra innings. Our pitchers were kind of shoving with that, except for the California rule, and just couldn't take care of it. Wesneski had him down to 2 outs, and they found a way to win.
That was the most unlucky game we've seen this season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just going through my head right now, I can think of so many different plays from that game.
Yeah.
You started off Bellinger, home run. It was foul, but inches. Game of inches. That's what they say. Yeah. Game of inches. We start there. Cody Bellinger, foul ball, home run. There's that. Cody Bellinger gets hit on the hand. His hand is clearly
Yes, I forgot about that too.
his
Yeah.
hand is here clearly hit. Like you see it pulsating as he said, but somehow it hits off his hand, knob, whatever it might have been, goes right to the pitcher for an out. That ends a rally. And then they review it while his hand is just flaring up. And they end up saying that it still hit the knob, call him out on that. Boom. There's another one. So many plays in extra innings. Then we go back. Hayden Wesneski gets hit by a line drive that probably should have been caught by Dansby Swanson. That just goes back into what you said earlier about whatever kind of funk he is on defense right now. Hits him, and then Dansby tries to charge it. Either way, if it doesn't hit him, that's an easy out, game over, Cubs win. And then the last play of the game. This close, Yan Gomes was tagging Evan Longoria, but he just got his hand under the tag. This team's just unlucky right now. It's every bad break is going their way, but it also doesn't help that Mikey, this is exactly what we talked about earlier in the season. We love this team so much because they didn't rely on the big hit, but that's all they're relying on right now. That's all they're waiting for. They're waiting for someone to step up and get the big hit. But you could tell they are all gassed. They're exhausted. They are beating the ball into the ground. They're not putting it in the air anymore. They're not hitting line drives. They're getting on runners with the first at bat of the inning, and they're doing nothing with it. We're just waiting on the big hit, and no one can deliver. No one in this lineup can deliver right now. Not even Cody Bellinger, not Dansby Swanson. It doesn't matter. It's just been the same story since going back to Tuesday. No one can get the big hit.
None of these guys are rookies. Many of them have won individual awards. Many of them have won a World Series. I think the biggest thing right now is that I'm grateful for this off day because I think they know that they need to come out tomorrow playing for their season, playing for their rest of their year. I mean, what's his face? Swanson, I think it was Swanson or Hap, one of the two, openly said they were telling management, we better not get rid of Cody. We better not get rid of Cody. We better not get rid of Cody when the time came in July. This is it. Go win. Who knows? He's probably going to, I mean, realistically, he's probably going to go sign a big check somewhere out west. Hopefully it's with the Cubs, but he's going to probably go sign elsewhere. Go win while you have a chance.
And that's why it's like so important to me just to make the playoffs, just to throw your name in the dance. Because once you get there, anything is possible.
Yes.
If they get swept by the Brewers, whatever, season's a success. They made the playoffs. They weren't supposed to make the playoffs this year. And that's why it's just so important to why I've been so excited about this team, because they've surprised me in every single way. But now we're getting to the point where they actually need to win, and they're just falling on their face. They're just laying down and letting it be.
Like, I'm thinking back to when I went to that Cubs game in St. Louis in July, and I was like looking at the standings that morning after a big win, and I was like we could make the playoffs. Like we're sniffing the wild card here. Like, this is cool. And then we got so confident over this team being in a wild card position that we're so upset that we might be out of the wild card now that it's seen as some failure. And it is, because it's just how good they got. But like, we didn't think we'd be at this point. I mean, there was 21, what was it? Like, we were like with 21 games until the trade deadline, we were like 8 or 9 games below 500. Like there was a totally different look at this team months ago. And to think how much your and I's motivation has changed, where we're this disappointed. We just need to win some games this week, man, because it's just it can't end this way. We can't get our hopes up so much just to fall back to what we thought would happen.
Right. And that's just I think what all of Cubs fans are feeling like right now. Like, everyone's feelings are valid right now. Some people might be a little too negative, and I think I'm one of those people on that side, but I'm at least trying to be like, at least right now, I'm trying to stay in the middle ground. The season is a success. They've passed their win total. And obviously you shouldn't judge your season based on that. But
no, I'm not laughing at that. I'm saying Nick Alonso, a friend of our pod, told me yesterday, who I live with him, but he told me yesterday he thinks that they got the win total and then just like, all right, we're good. Phone it in, made the bettors happy. And I said, yeah, you think some of them had the bet? And he's like, I don't know. No, they didn't. But I thought that was funny that they made it to their win total and then they haven't won since then.
Where was I? Where's my train of thought
I
now?
don't know.
Nick Alonso, man.
I was laughing at you saying they hit their win total, and I think that's kind of the bow that they did it. Like you've exceeded expectations by the true definition.
But
Eh,
it's the fact that they basically they've tickled us at this point. They were
mhm.
like, "You want to see some winning baseball?" And they got us to that point, but then they just pulled away, and it's like, well, now we're sitting here, and I I think if they don't make the playoffs, and I don't even want to think this way, I think we'll hop on the headsets in 2 weeks, and we'll be not necessarily disappointed. And I think we'll have I think we'll be able to settle with it and have a positive outlook. But it's the fact that just all of this is piling on at once, and it's just really hard to like feel this way right now. After
How many
exactly what you
wins?
said, like going back to St. Louis and like, yeah, this is a real possibility.
How many wins do you think it takes? And I think this is a good way to kind of wrap this up. How many wins do you think it takes for the Cubs to hold that number 3 wild card spot if they're truly better than the Marlins or the Reds or
We're
the
at
Diamondbacks?
we're at 78
So
right
like
now.
how many yeah, so they're at 78. And so if they have to be better, not, by record, not just tiebreakers, because they don't have the tiebreakers, that's out the window. They don't play them again. How many wins do you think that takes?
I think they have to go 8-4. I think they need to win 86 games.
Yeah, I was gonna say 85. So yeah, 86 is probably valid.
I think if you win 85, you lose the tiebreaker. I think 86 wins puts you over the edge. And that's hoping that the Marlins, Reds, and Diamondbacks, two of those teams play bad baseball.
Okay, so the Braves will have 117 wins by then. No, they have 96, but the Braves are going to have 100 wins by the time they play the Cubs. They already won the division. I mean, it's a weird scenario, right? You don't want to sit your guys for 3 weeks, but then also you don't want to tire them out. You don't want to hurt them. Don't forget the Cubs beat the Braves 2 out of 3 earlier in the season when they were firing on all cylinders. So
Yeah.
it's not impossible. Although this time it's in Atlanta.
The,
That's what scares me. We
I
have to go 9-3 or 8-4, and we have to face Milwaukee and Atlanta.
I think a lot of those pitchers will be on innings limits potentially.
Yeah.
But at this point, going back to what I was just thinking about, who cares at this point who we're facing on the mound because they don't want to put up runs on these
Yeah.
dick
Oh
baller
my
starting
God.
pitchers. I
Yeah.
mean,
Nelson. Yeah. Ryan Nelson yesterday looked so bad, and we couldn't do shit about it. And then
it
yeah.
it lined up. We missed Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly. That sounds like a series that you should take 2 of 3 over against 3 guys that have ERAs over 6.
Yeah. And the Arizona bullpen was so depleted too, like even more so than ours,
Mm-hmm.
and we just couldn't do shit about it.
I mean, they lost 3 of 4 to the Mets, and they traveled that day to Arizona to get back to play the Cubs, who had an off day on Thursday. And the Cubs showed up with this piss poor performance. That's what's so frustrating. It's just all of this just piling on top of each other. You have to win at least one, and they couldn't. And obviously, you look at Saturday, and I just said it. A lot of things are unlucky. Part of it's luck. Part of it's the way the team's playing. But you got to win one. You have to show that you're the better ball club. But I just don't see it. I think Arizona's better than us. I mean, they proved it the last 2 weeks.
Pirates 3, Rockies 3. Today off day, another off day next Monday. In Atlanta for 3, in Milwaukee for 3, and hopefully 6.
I think we're gonna post this actually today at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. I'm gonna edit this one as soon as we wrap it up.
Okay, awesome. Join us tomorrow on the PSF app. We're gonna try and bring good morale back. You could either if we lose though, you'll probably see us at our lowest. Truly.
I think we're looking at a 6:40 start.
6:40 start time for the Cubs. We're gonna go live around 6:25, 6:30. So come join us for our live reactions. And
yeah,
I think our first couple streams were obviously we won one. I think we're 1-1 in our streams. One game was like a Tigers game where it was like, whatever. Like it stinks. Win tomorrow. They did. And then the next one was an electrifying
Brewers
win
win.
against the Brewers. Tomorrow, they play probably the worst of the three opponents, but it just feels just as important as any game we've had this entire season.
Because it is.
Yes. So please, please, please come join us. We love doing PSF. We love talking to you guys. We love reacting to the games. Join us. We need good morale. So let's get it done. Join us in PSF.
PSF tomorrow. I'm glad the Cubs are terrible, so I don't have to even think about the Bears because that would just add extra misery. And one of my favorite shows got canceled last night. I mean, we need a win today. I mean, we're not playing today. We need a win tomorrow.
The only win we could potentially have today, I think, is the Marlins. Or no, excuse me. The Reds play the Twins. So that's a tough series for the
Twins
Reds.
are looking to win that division still.
Exactly. So 540. The only win we could possibly have tonight, as we are full blown standing watching, even though I don't even want to look at the standings because it makes me cringe every time.
Standings watch. I've been looking up. I look up MLB wildcard standings pretty much daily at this point.
Did you see I know we're getting towards the end to wrap this up, but did you see the postseason percentages? How
last
much
night didn't they go from like 60 something to 54?
At 60 to 54, but it was 90% after the win in Colorado on Monday. 90 to 54 in a week.
Oh, I'm not going to overreact yet. We'll see what happens this week at home. But if we don't win 5 out of 6, I think this is going to be a pretty somber episode in our penultimate of the season next Sunday if we don't figure this out. But that's twofold. It's just like 54% for the playoffs. It's a coin flip. You never know what could happen this week.
Yeah, you put it best. Next week could be. I think this was more the angry episode. You could potentially be seeing the
disappointed episode.
Disappointed episode next week.
Yeah, all the stages of grief, just like the Bears.
That team is just.
I don't want to. I'm not watching next week. Hopefully the Cubs win 4 or 5 before then, so I can enjoy the Cubs and Rockies and not have to even acknowledge the Bears.
Time of the Cubs on.
They've given me no reason to care. I'm not going to care about them.
Yeah,
done being a dang Bears fan. I'll be a Cubs fan. I don't care.
Kansas
Baby
City.
Bears.
And I'm fine with just keep rambling on. Best part about Sunday, as we go into a little Bears here. Best part about Sunday is that they are the Fox National Game of the Week at 3:25 in Kansas City.
We don't deserve Kevin Burkhardt and Joe Davis. That's who we had the first 2 weeks. They're not good enough for that. Give those guys better games. Those are the guys that call the Super Bowl the World Series.
So the Bears get to be embarrassed on national television for the second time in 3 weeks.
Good thing I'm not watching.
There's a lot wrong there.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel a little better about what's going on here. But really not, because last night, yesterday was the worst sports day of my life in a long time.
Yeah.
I said going into that morning, that maybe was the most important sports day of my life in like 5 years. Just to get 2 wins. 2 wins.
Disappointing.
And we went 0-2.
Oh, Connor Bedard had a hat trick in his first practice game, so there's a silver lining.
They're still gonna stink though.
That's so funny. The best tweet I saw last night was like, Bears and Cubs got me so mad. I'm literally up watching Connor Bedard highlights.
The thing about the Blackhawks is I know obviously we were treated so well with 3 Stanley Cups in our young age, but what happens if they're just like the Oilers? Like they have this prophecy of a player in both Connors and the Black. It just makes so much sense. The way the Chicago sports have gone the last really since the Cubs have won the World Series. All 5 teams. I'm even talking to you White Sox fans. I feel bad for you guys.
The Cubs are actually similar. I've never even thought about this. The Cubs this year are actually very similar to recent Bulls teams, I feel like did really well in free agency, put together a really good veteran team, a sound team, made the playoffs or barely sniffed the playoffs, and then get swept by Milwaukee. So
I would say There you go. That's gonna happen too. They just own us. They can't get out of our goddamn heads, dude.
No, we got one in Milwaukee that one year, right? Zach LaVine like went nuts, or DeMar went nuts. I don't
Yes,
remember.
that's what I was literally. I was talking to my roommates about this yesterday. I said the only playoff win I have in college is the one we won in Milwaukee. The
That's
Bulls.
funny.
The Bulls won in Milwaukee.
That's funny.
I think,
Oh,
right?
oh
Oh,
man.
and
Yeah.
we have the play-in win against the Raptors. The play-in tournament.
Oh, right. Well, because then we didn't we like have the Heat up? Were we like up 8 on the Heat with like however much left, and that's like the meme people kept posting.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
having a field day with that meme.
that's great. Oh man, I don't care about the Bulls. I don't care about the Bears. I mean, I'll care about the Blackhawks when the time comes, but just go win this week, please, Cubs.
I,
Please, just go win.
the only thing that I would say that's different from the Bears to the Cubs, it's a great comparison because they did get like all those veterans and they're
The
barely
Bulls,
gonna
you mean?
they're barely
Yeah.
gonna squeak in. The only thing is that is nice is I would say the Cubs have a much better future than the Bulls do.
Yes, this is true. This is true. I mean, yeah, it's if we re-sign Cody, I guess. I guess Dansby's our Zach LaVine if that comparison holds true. I guess. I don't know. That's probably not a good comparison.
No, it makes
But
sense because I feel
yeah,
like all of Cubs Twitter is turning on the
yeah,
guy right now.
yeah. He doesn't deserve it either. He's a really good guy, and he's a Cub for life at this point. We got him for 6 more years. He bought Theo Epstein's house, so
He's in a
he's
funk.
locked in.
He's in a
He's locked
funk.
in. Yeah, he's in a funk. He's in a funk. One
But
more one
it's real bad.
one little duck snort, a little gorp. It's all it takes tomorrow in Wrigley Field. Just a little hit, and his mojo's back. I mean, he got a hit yesterday too, but like more than anything, also just limiting those ground balls with eyes. There's a third term for you. I just saw that like Bull Durham like speech where
Yeah.
I'm talking about where he talks about like 25 more hits a season and you're in Yankee Stadium. That's a great
Right.
speech.
Yeah.
And he says all those terms: gorp, duck, snorp. I love that. That's what I've been calling ground balls because the Cubs have way too many of them.
Mm-hmm.
Go Cubs.